Hello everyone, I think I'm live right now. We're seeing how this goes. Alright, I think I'm live. So, hello, my name is Abby. For those who don't know me, I am a museum assistant, I am a tour guide, and I do workshops occasionally with the Ballard. But I'm coming to you today in my apartment to show you how to make this really cute and very simple rod puppet. So I'd love to walk you through the steps for that. He's really cute. You can make yours look like whatever you want. I'll go through all of the steps, but first I'm just going to go over the materials that you will need. Newspaper, we're going to use that for the head. Masking tape, also for the head, but for putting together any parts. Throughout all my puppets, if you want to use hot glue, if you have it, you're more than welcome to, but I have tape. It's just what I have available right now. You'll also need for your body either a toilet paper roll or a styrofoam or paper cup. Plastic cups are just a little bit harder to poke holes through and sometimes tear on you. Markers, permanent marker will work fine for drawing on a face. Of course, scissors and hole punch. I think I did that backwards. Hole punch and scissors. String, yarn, ribbon, whatever you want to use for arms. I have yarn today that I'd like to use. And of course, because this is a rod puppet, rod is fancy word for stick, so you need some sticks. The 3 sticks that I have today, you have 2 straws, 3 straws actually, they're just all different colors and sizes here. If you have chopsticks, if you have skewers, if you have sticks from outside, pencils, all of those things work as sticks. I just happen to have a lot of straws, so I'm going to use straws in this craft. So let's dive in. First, I want to go through the head. For this activity, and this is usually how I teach at the Ballard as well, I like to do a little bit of sculpting with newspaper. Of course, if you were to mix up this puppet, you could do clay head, you could do any kind of head that you want. But I think a newspaper head is super simple and super easy to do on a puppet like this, and it looks really good. So, get your newspaper ready, get your newspaper ready, get your newspaper ready, and then you crumble it. It's a lot of fun. You can crumble it. And then you can start to fluff it out a little bit. And so this part requires a little bit of creativity. And you might think it's a little bit difficult, but I promise you can do this. So if you're looking at this, start to see if you can see a shape in there. Of course, you can sculpt it any way that you want to create whatever sort of character you'd like. But if you're not as inspired, you can always just look at it and see like what kind of head you're seeing in there. So for me, I would talk you through my process. I'm seeing a nose or a snout right here. Get your masking tape. You should have a good amount of it. Not going to use the whole roll, but you should have a good amount of it. You're ripping a piece. And you are taping down the part that you just made. So we're going to do that for the whole rest of this head. I'm going to walk you through my process. I'm going to continue to use tape. Let's see. Gonna make that nose. I can't make another, I think this is a wolf. I can't make another wolf. Let's make something else. How about, you can always see what evolves from it. You can always see what comes out of there. I'm seeing some sort of like, maybe I'm making another dinosaur. This is kind of triceratops, right? Yeah, I think we're gonna make another dinosaur. Using tape. This process is, it's gonna take you a bit, that's okay. Like I said, if you have another head that you want to use, you can use it. But this is a nice simple one. And anybody can do this. If you have newspaper, you can do this. And tape. Once again, it's up to you when you choose to decorate your head. If you have things like pom-poms or beads or whatever you want to put on this, this might be a great time to glue them in. You can sort of poke holes like this, make nice eye sockets. I don't have pom-poms here, but I'd love pom-pom eyes if I had those. Beads work really well too. Oh yeah. Looking good. And you don't have to cover the whole thing in tape. A lot of people, when they do this, and I'm showing them, will ask me, do I have to cover the whole thing in tape? That's up to you. If you want to, you can. If you don't want to, you don't have to. Sometimes it's a little easier to draw on a face on tape. I have a little snout on this guy. That was a little easier to draw on tape. However, it's also easier if you have like Crayola markers or regular washable markers. They don't have to be Crayola. I don't know why I said that. It might be easier to draw on paper. So play with it, figure out what works for you. I think my Triceratops looks pretty great. That's, you can see it's not a ton of tape on there. It's just enough that it holds it. Maybe I'm looking at this and I'm going, this is a Triceratops without any horns. That's a sad dinosaur. I dropped my newspaper on the ground. Good thing I picked it back up. If you want to add on nose, if you want to add on any other appendages, ears, horns in my case, just do the same thing that you did. Maybe a little bit smaller. This is a little too big. I think mine's like a Triceratops with one horn. I guess that's like a unicorn, but prehistoric. So I'm just going to make a smaller thing with my tape. Easy. And I'm wrapping it around. And I'm wrapping it around. Perfect. So then I am going to tape that to the head. I know this is not the most exciting part of the process for you to watch me, but it's the most exciting part when you're making it for yourself, I think. It's pretty fun. All right. Boom. Done and done. I think that looks great. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Let's go from here because I'd love to show you the next step. So next, I want to move on to the body of your creature. A cup is what I usually use, but toilet paper rolls work just as well because they already have a nice hole going through them. So I don't have to do too much to this. And this, if you want to do this one, you just have to poke a hole up top so that your central rod can go through it. So on my example here, it's a toilet paper roll. Can't really see. So I'm going to walk you through toilet paper roll because I typically teach this body when I teach at the Ballard. So I'm going to show you the other one. However, I'll walk you through both sides of it. So if this is what you have, we can make this happen. So for first, I'm picking my center rod. All in all, you're going to have 3 of them. One is sort of like the spine. It's going down the head. The other 2 are going to be on its hands. So if you have one that's longer than the others, I like to make that one the spine that holds up the entire head. So let's do that first. It's not terribly difficult to poke this into paper. You might need a little bit of help. If you need help, you can use a pair of scissors. If you were using skewers, they would go in nice and easy. So I'm just being careful there. My horn has fallen off. I need a little bit more reinforcement. I kind of want to put the horn on its nose. Sometimes you don't remember what a dinosaur looks like, and it's too late to change your character. So that's okay. It kind of looks like an elephant now. So wait a minute, wait a minute. I'm going to slit this up the center. I'm going to fold both of my ears over here, and now I have an elephant. I love when things work out. I love when things work out. Great. So I'm taping this down, taping down the other ear, and then you saw I sort of poked a hole using my scissors so I can get the straw in there. If you had hot glue, a blob of hot glue in that, that would be great. Tape, use a little bit extra effort with the tape there, but that's okay. So here I am putting my central rod in. Exactly, only happy accidents. We worked together to find this awesome elephant. So I'm using another piece of tape. Awesome. If we wanted to stick with the prehistoric theme, I guess we could say woolly mammoth, right? Thank you. Thank you for thinking that this is an exciting one. This is a really fun one for me, actually. I will say at the Ballard, this is my favorite workshop to teach. So if you ever book a rod puppet workshop, I will be the most excited to teach you about that. It's just one of my favorites. Something about it seems so simple, but like anybody can do it, and you don't think of these things as things that could create a puppet. So it's pretty cool when you see like this emerge, you know, turn into a woolly mammoth. That's what this will be at the end. We're getting there. Our creature needs a body. So for a toilet paper roll, super easy. You're going to put it where you want it and tape it. If you're doing a cup, poke a hole, put it where you want it. You might have to use some tape or some hot glue if you have it to kind of attach it in. If you have, I know they sell like foamy beads, like they're really thick foamy beads. Those make really good stoppers for if you put a head and a body and a foamy bead underneath it, they stop it pretty well. Blob of hot glue would probably do the same. But once again, I'm going with tape. I'm going to work with this one. So I am getting some tape ready. I'll also say, so this is another place that you could sort of veer off into a different direction if you were inclined to. On this puppet here, I have string arms, so they're just yarn, and they're sort of hole punched on there. And I think that they work really well. I think that they work really well for a puppet. Hi. But the way that I've typically taught it is that instead of having, oh, I've beheaded him. Oh no. That's okay. It's just a puppet. He can go back together and he's fine. So instead of the string, you can use fabric if you have it. If you don't have fabric, it's okay. Hot glue, I've never had hot glue melt styrofoam, but I don't want to tell you that and then have the hot glue melt the styrofoam. So maybe, you know, your own mileage may vary there. If you were using fabric, you would cut a square of fabric. I'm doing too many steps at once, one at a time here. You'd want to cut a square of fabric. If you fold it in half, and then you fold it in half again, you could sort of gather where the center point of that square is. I'm cutting it. Now there's a tiny hole in there. So what you could do if you didn't want to use string arms or if you had fabric, and I'm using felt today. Felt is a little stiff. I would probably go with like a cotton or a jersey type of material that might flow a little bit better, but it's what we have. These crafts are all about what you've got, and I've got felt. So if that was the case, you would put on the felt, or the fabric I mean, going up the body here. You would attach the body, and then when the fabric drapes down, you've got kind of a cool clothing article of clothing on there. That's pretty cute. If this was the case, you could also attach one of your arm rods, don't forget, you're going to put that there, and you could create a hand right there. So you actually could use the fabric as your arms. That's actually what we do at the Valor. So I've probably taught you this. If you recognize me from a workshop, I've probably taught you that exact method. However, I'm going to show you another way, because I think when I was going around my apartment looking for what do I have, I found a lot more string than I did fabric. So let's go back to this method, but once again, it's puppets. You can do whatever you want. If you want to do something different than me, I still want to see it. I still want everybody who's making puppets along with me to post in the comments so I can see it. I loved everybody that made a marionette with me. In case you didn't recognize me, I did teach the dinosaur marionette one as well. I loved seeing everybody's puppets. They were so cool. I wish that that was like an in-person workshop so I could have seen them all like dance together. But seeing them on Facebook was just as exciting for me. So I'm using tape to tape down the straw on the top, tape down the straw on the bottom. Good stuff. This is when glue might come in handy again. You could glue the stick, get it up there. If we're going with my string method, I'm going to use my trusty hole punch to punch holes on the sides. One there and one here. I love picking up the little hole punch things on my floor later. That's the exciting part of this craft for me. So we've just created some shoulder holes. I have this fun yarn that's sort of like black with different bits of color. I want to use this one. Once again, anything will work as long as you have enough of it. A little short arm might be tough, but we could make anything work because once again, it is a puppet. So you can do what you want. And that's like, it's kind of exciting in art when you get to say, I can do anything I want. Oh yeah, you can. So I'm gonna start with our arms right now. My yarn ball is a mess. That's okay. So here you go. I'm gonna make two that are approximately the same size. These probably are a little too long, but I think it's always better to be safe. Cut them a little too long, tie them on the body, and then we can trim them down later. Okay. So here's one armhole. I'll poke that through. If you're having trouble getting your string or your ribbon through, oops, my pen fell over here. Using a pen to like poke it through is pretty helpful. So here you go. Falling all over, but that's okay. If you have things like beads, dry pasta, any of those could be pretty fun to string along the arms of your puppet if you're using the string method. Beads also make really excellent hands on the puppet. So I've done one side and I'm going to do the other side. My yarn's pretty easy to thread through and tie. I think if I was using a ribbon, it might be a little more difficult. All right, and we're almost done there. Boom. So now we have the beginnings of arms. If you're noticing, like me, that your puppet's a little bit crooked or his head's going a different direction, that's okay. You can just pick it up and edit it where you need to. Nothing's permanent on this puppet. We can fix it up as we need, which is actually a really good thing when it comes to puppetry. You should probably always think about ways that you could fix up your puppet if it breaks. Don't count on it being permanent. Here's an arm. It's a little bit long of an arm. Sort of hold those together, and I might go snip. Oh yeah, that looks like the correct length of arm now for me. Maybe a little too short, but that's okay. Can really, once again, do anything that you want. So I don't have any beads or anything with which to decorate my puppet's arms. So I'm going to move on to the next step, but you could thread beads onto this step and tie it closed. So for hands, if puppet needs hands, and the hands are where we're going to attach the rods to. If you have cardboard, if you have paper, if you have anything goes, really. A bead would be awesome for this. I have another toilet paper roll, so I think I'm going to use that because it's nice hard material. And I used construction paper for my other one. Yes, plastic spoon actually would be a great one. I don't mean to ruin the magic of my own puppet project that I just finished off of this channel, but I used plastic spoons for eyes because they made really cool oval shapes. I used to say that there was no puppet store. I think that that's changed. I think you could go online and certain places sell primarily puppet things. But for the most part, if you want something, you sort of have to look around the world and say, what looks like that thing? And white plastic spoons look tremendously like eyeballs. All you have to do is add the pupils. So I think we're going to cut some hands. Maybe he's got like cloven hooves with 2 fingers. I don't think that that's probably correct for a mammoth, but it's a puppet. And if he has cloven hooves, I want them to. Here we go. So I'm going to use either, this is your choice here. You can either use tape to tape your string to your, let's see, what I see a question. I'll leave 2 hands. How tricky is it to change hands to make the hands move? Don't worry, I will go over performance at the end of this. I always like to go over performance. It will come. So for hands, you can either tape them to the string, or you can, if you use string, another hole punch, and another hole punch. For my puppet that I used all tape for, look at that. This is just the kind of day we're having, huh? It's okay. It's pretty easy to peel the tape off and swap out parts, but I think it might be a little bit more effort if you were doing that with hole punch and time. But once again, none of the puppets that I'm making are super permanent, so if I see something later that I want to change, I have the ability to. All right, we've tied on one hand, and I'm going to do the same on the other hand. The exciting part of our puppet almost being done. Oh yeah. It's got a little extra piece up there. There we go. All right, we're getting somewhere. I like this. All right, so I am going to use, where are my straws? There they go. I've got 2 straws that I'm going to use for my arm rods. Lava hot glue would work, but so does tape. So I have an arm, I have a straw. There's probably personal preference, I would say, in whether you want to put the arm rods on the outside of the hand or on the inside of the hand, on the palm. Personally, I think it feels right to put it on the palm side, but once again, you might have your own preference. I have absolutely made puppets for fun here in my apartment. It is relaxing. It is fun. I found that with puppetry, more than any other type of art, there's sort of a, as puppets, it can be fun, you know? It kind of lends itself well to experimenting and seeing if it works. And if it doesn't work, it's okay. You just try it again. I am a graduate student. I'm in my 3rd year. I have a MFA project that I just finished filming in my apartment, which I did not think would happen in my apartment when I first pitched it, but it was very exciting to get to film a puppet show in my apartment. It was kind of fun. Kind of makes me feel like there's really no rules, like anybody could make puppets and film them, and you know, it's very, I don't know, it feels kind of like, god, anybody could do this. This is great. Not just like I have to sit around and wait for only the professionals to do it. Legit, anybody can do this. But I have made a lot of puppets like this. I've made a lot of little fun, crafty puppets to pitch them for workshops, which always bring me just as much joy to make them myself and go, oh, I can't wait to show people this one. That's how I felt about the now headless wolf. So we've got our arm rods taped together. At this point, you pretty much have the puppet. This is pretty much where the puppet's gonna be. On the wolf, I have a way that I really like to do texture when I work with paper, and I'll show you briefly, but then I want to go into how I perform the puppet. I won't walk you through the entire process of how I add texture to paper. So, oh buddy, come on, you just have to hang on for a few more minutes. There we go. On my wolf, I kind of really enjoy this texture of paper laid all on top of each other. I think it kind of gives a fluffy appearance, and I've put a little bit up top here so that it kind of has hair that matches his body. So if I had a lot more time with you, I would show you me doing the entire thing, but I'll walk you through what I do for that. Is I would just start with whatever fun construction paper or newspaper or fun paper, and you just cut a really long strip, and then you would cut a bunch of tiny little slips like this, cut a bunch of those, and cutting them closer together might make it look like finer hair. Cutting it further apart like this might make it look a little bit more woolly. You can see what I've done here. You can see a little bit better against the white wall. You can ruffle it up a little bit, not too much, you might rip it, but ruffle it a little bit so that it doesn't just lay straight. And then you can use either tape or glue to sort of layer those on top of each other. So you can either do roll by roll by roll, or you could just use one big piece and spiral it around. So you can sort of see how I would create that texture. If I was walking you through for a full hour, I would do this whole thing, and it would be a true woolly mammoth, but I want to take a second now to show you how I would perform this puppet. Though we probably should give my puppet some eyes first, just so that we know what we're dealing with here. I found that the permanent marker draws better on the tape, but if I was using Lasho markers, they would work much better on paper. All right, let's think. What kind of character am I going for? I tend to give all of my puppets the same eyelashes that I do, that I have. I think because I have the power to. I have the power to create puppets that have the same eyes as I do, which is pretty fun. Let's give her pupils. Nice girl mammoth now. All right, I'm gonna talk about performance. At this point, you could decorate your puppet however you wanted. Maybe it was add the texture like I did on him. Maybe it's add fabric. Maybe it's add beads on these arms. Maybe it's paint it, let it dry, and then you get to play with it later. Whatever you choose to do, let's go over some performance. Thank you, Kathy. I really enjoy doing workshops. These are a blast. I'm already planning out my next one. Which is a great point, or a great time now to say, if you have ideas for workshops, I know the Ballard Institute made a post a little bit ago about asking what people are interested in. If you have things that you're interested in, if you have things that you'd like to see, questions that you'd like answered, go to that post. It's on the Facebook page, and write what you'd like to see, because we really do look at those and get ideas from that. It helps us know what you're interested in, because this is my favorite workshop to teach. So, but that's mine. Maybe you have something else you want to do. So let us know. But I love to build in a little bit of performance time at the end of mine. So let's walk you through it. You have a puppet. This is your rod puppet. It has a spine. It has 2 hands. You might feel more comfortable with your spine in your left hand. You might feel more comfortable with spine in the right hand. Does not matter. Something about me, I kind of like the spine in my right hand, even though I'm right-handed and the arms kind of do more work, but it just feels right. You're allowed to go with what you feel right doing. So I'm holding the spine. This is all your head. In this particular puppet, this controls your head entirely. So anything I want to do with the head is looking around. More marionettes? I just had an idea for a marionette workshop. I'll develop that a little bit further then. I was thinking about something 4-legged because I did something 2-legged already. So I'm using this to look around. If I had a lot of time with you to teach you how to play with this, I would work on things like focus, which is where you're looking. So it's kind of important that a puppet is looking in a certain way. Maybe it's very important that the puppet is looking directly at me. Or maybe what emotion does it convey if my puppet is sort of looking off into space? Or how can she very intently look at the painting behind me? Can she, you know, it's really, if she looks around, like what emotion does this convey? So these are all questions that you don't have to answer. You don't have to do if you don't want to, but there are all sorts of things that will help you in working on your own puppetry and moving your puppets around. It'll give you a better idea of sort of how to create character. So focus is one of the big ones. Let's work on these hands. I wish I had a cheat code for making these hands super easy to manipulate, but at the end of the day, it really is just practice. And playing with little things first. So instead of jumping right into 2 hands and struggling, saying, okay, what if I drop 1 hand? And what if I just wave with 1? Hi. So it's a little bit easier if you drop the one closer to you. It's a little bit easier to drop that one to you because if you're whipping around, it's sort of like contained nicely next to me. If I drop this one and this puppet is moving around, I'm smacking the people around me, which is not so considerate. So it's a little easier to drop this one. If you need to drop this one, once again, there is no hard rule book. You can drop this one if you need, but just be wary of where that stick is going. But I typically think it's a little easier to drop this one, do whatever I need to, and then I can pick this one up together. If you're walking through how to do this, give yourself little things. Clapping. Can your puppet clap? I'm a little rusty on this. Let's see if I can make mine clap. She almost claps. And it's a little bit difficult because you're going, how do I do this? You might find that holding them kind of crisscross, like scissors kind of works. So I'm sort of crisscrossing it down here. You might find that like crisscrossy scissors, kind of chopsticky sort of work. I'm actually not sure. Let's see if I can do chopsticks on this hand. I don't think I could. I can really not do too much there. Yeah, so either of those, you could have them both in sort of the base of your hand like this and manipulate it that way. I think that's a little bit more difficult. I think it's a little bit easier to hold them up here. You can also, if you have a friend or somebody else who you're isolating with, who you're making this craft with, you can sort of 2-person one of these. So sometimes in a TV shoot, it's not 1 person per puppet. Sometimes there are 2 or more people per puppet. So I might be just working the head and there might be somebody else with me who's just working the arms. Or I might be working just the head and just this arm, and there might be somebody next to me working this arm. So if you have a second person and you want to make it look really professional, you can both work together to manipulate 1 puppet together as opposed to 1 person doing their own. But I would say for performance tips on these, I wish that I could give you better tips. These are just a little bit difficult to pick up. But starting off with really simple things, things that you think about that you're doing, like, I just yawned. Ooh, let me make my puppet do that. And thinking about not just the arms. Obviously, these are right in front of you. You can move these, but thinking about the whole puppet. So if I'm yawning, not only is my hand coming up too, but she's leaning back a little bit because she's taking a nice big breath in, and then she's kind of moving forward to let that breath out. So thinking about the whole puppet, not just the fun stuff that moves. Ooh. Yeah, so that's about as much as I can give at this moment. Because our workshop is running. Our workshop's almost at its end here, but I'm always happy to pop back on and give more performance tips, especially because I think that it's just as important to know how to move the thing that you just made, because we just made a thing. We made this. We want this to move. Puppets are exciting when they move. A puppet that doesn't move is, then I've just made a fun sculpture, but it's more fun if this puppet is moving and being a character. So yeah, I'd love to see if anybody has been making these along with me. I would love to see them. Please post pictures. Please share them with us. Even if yours is a little bit different than mine, it's okay. I want to see what you've got. Marionettes, depending on the marionette, can be manipulated by more than one person. It really goes up to the control, as it's called, where all the strings are hanging onto. I've certainly seen cases of marionettes that have 2 people on them because they're massive and they might have controls for each side of them. But marionettes are tough. They're a whole another game altogether. And it's sometimes more impressive to me when you see a really complex marionette and go, oh, that was only one person? Wow. It's exciting when you can see up above the bridge, or you can see the person who's manipulating them, because it's just second nature to them. It's just something that they've practiced a million times and they have it down. And if I pick up a marionette for the first time, it will not look that good, and that's okay. And I can go into this with a Marionette Workshop a different time, but marionettes are typically built to do the things that they need to do. So if marionette needs to walk really well, it probably does that and a little else. There are a few marionettes that do everything super well. They probably do 1 or 2 things really, really well, and they just use those things for those scenes. So I want to go into that more in depth. I bet I'll pitch another marionette one coming up. But thanks for joining me today. If you joined late, my name is Abby. I'm very happy to teach you how to do these puppets. I'm looking forward to my next one already. And if you've made one with me, or if you make one in the future, you don't have to make it today. Whenever you make one of these puppets, please post it in the comments. I would really like to see it. My mammoth needs more friends. She would love to see the other puppets that are out there. Thank you so much, though, for joining me today. We have a workshop coming up this Friday, same time, same place, different person, though. It'll be my friend Maggie Flanagan. Will be teaching you how to do a sock puppet workshop. So if you thought this was fun, wait till you see a sock puppet workshop. That's going to be a good time. So you can join her this Friday here on the Ballard Facebook page at 2 p.m. Eastern. Thank you so much for joining me today, though. I really look forward to seeing what puppets you create. And I will see you again soon with another workshop. It has been a blast. Thank you, everybody. Have an excellent rest of your Wednesday.